Real life doesn't often feel like an epic fantasy novel.
Particularly if you've been sequestered in your tower, scrolling on your doom portal,
And finding that the world is indeed burning.
If that sounds a little too familiar, fear not, my friend, because this video is for you.
there is a lot in life that you can't control, but you do have the power to bring more light and wonder and whimsy into this gray and often dark world. So today, I'm going to help you reclaim creativity and imagination in your life with 100 fantasy core things to do when you're bored. My name is Bailey and I am an artist, an author, and fantasy enthusiast. We have everything in this list from art projects, crafts, self-care practices, adventurous outings, study projects to feed your mind and spark curiosity. You ready to go on an adventure? Let's go. Let's begin with ideas that take from a few minutes to up to an hour. Name your houseplants. I have too many plant babies to name all of mine, but I've given a specific few names and I try to remember them. It strengthens your connection with the plant and just brings a little bit of whimsy into your life. Craft little moths out of paper and faux fur. You can print out wing designs or paint or draw your own, then cut them out, glue them onto some faux fur, and voila! Invent your very own magical companion or creature. Come up with a unique design that's never been done before or your own twist on something that has been done and draw them or paint them, sculpt them, write about them, whatever medium you prefer, and you can give them a name, a backstory, whatever you like. Craft a tree branch ring out of polymer clay, like this one. Change your phone background / apps, widgets, whatever, to fantasy-esque style imagery. A great place to find fantasy imagery and photos is pexels.com. It's all free and there's not a ton of AI slop. When you're waiting out at the bus stop or in a line or something, practice your observational skills. What can you observe about your surroundings? What do you pick up from the world around you? And what stories can you create out of that? Create fantasy playlists and listen to them. You could even create different playlists for different types of fantasy music, from actual medieval music to Celtic or folk music to fantasy soundtracks to dark pop, epic pop, whatever you like. Make a simmer pot. Fill a pot with water, add in some aromatics, orange slices, cinnamon sticks, sprigs of rosemary. Let it simmer for a few hours and fill your home with lovely scents. Add fake ivy to your walls. This is a super easy and quick project that adds a little bit of whimsy into your space and just takes some fake ivy and some tape. Learn to identify different cloud formations and all the signals of weather changes, and then practice predicting the weather so you can feel like a wizard. Go out on a walk and collect leaves or flowers or both, then come home and press them between the pages of a book. Make a potion prop. This is a surprisingly simple craft that you can do with just water, a bit of rubbing alcohol, some mica powder, some kind of coloring like ink or food coloring, and a potion bottle that you can find at a craft store. Make a paper frog. I made this little guy and I love him, but I find the process very stressful. But apparently some people find it soothing. So if that's you, go ahead and try it. Start a daily practice of winding down by candlelight. This is a shockingly soothing, restful, and meditative practice. It also might be very beneficial for your mental health. If you're stuck somewhere doing something boring or waiting around for something, try narrating your life in the third person like you are in an epic fantasy adventure. Similarly, make up lines of poetry in your head when you're bored and waiting for things instead of grabbing your phone. And the last one along these lines, if you're waiting or bored or trying to fall asleep at night, try making up a story or a fantasy world in your imagination. Make a mood board, a Pinterest board, or a collage of your dream fantasy life. Treat every single day like a quest to show kindness. Okay, I know this one is super duper cheesy, but honestly, it does make a difference in my day when I do this. This one may make you uncomfy, but that's okay. Ask a neighbor for help. Ask to borrow an egg, a cup of sugar. Ask for advice on gardening or how to fix your bike. While yes, you are being an inconvenience, you're also creating an opportunity for community. Because when you ask someone for help, you signal to them that they can also ask you for help, and that creates an opportunity for relationship. The worst they can do is say no. Try out a fantasy makeup look. Get some inspo on Pinterest and just experiment and have fun. You don't actually have to wear it out anywhere. You can just play around and then take it out to go to bed. Make your own skincare or hair care products out of completely natural ingredients. This is a fun and meditative process, but it's also really good for your health because you're using natural products. Learn a new fantasy-inspired hairstyle. Watch a tutorial or learn a new kind of braiding technique, or try to replicate a hairstyle that you see on Pinterest or TikTok. You can even make up your own. Journal in the third person. At the end of the day, sit down and write about the events of your day as if you are narrating an epic adventure. Grow crystals from borax or Epsom salts and crystallify things like fake flowers. This is actually shockingly easy to do and very, very fun. Ideas that would probably take from about 1 to maybe 3 hours. Paint your nails. Do some fun, fantasy-esque nail art. Try a self-care routine fit for royalty. Enjoy a bath with luxurious skin and hair care treatments, some lovely essential oils, by candlelight with Enya or Aurora playing in the background, or maybe like Gregorian chants or something like that, and just really soak in the calming, magical atmosphere. And then when you're done, wear beautiful pajamas to bed. Spend time with an elder, asking for their wisdom and life stories. Decorate your windows with a sun catcher film, or you can easily make a diamond lattice out of black tape like I did here. Make yourself a little mushroom garland out of clay, polymer clay or air dry clay, whatever you like, and then paint them and hang them on a little rope. Design yourself a coat of arms using symbols that are meaningful to you, and then paint it and display it in your room or your home. Thrift flip yourself a little friend like this owl guy. Find a figurine from the thrift store that's been discarded, and then upcycle and give them a fantasy makeover.
And for those of you who've been waiting, I have finally given him a name. It is
Sir Regis Spellheim, Protector of the Spark, Commander of the Winter Court, known colloquially as Reggie the Brave.
Paint a fantasy scene on a mirror. You can paint with regular acrylics, enamel paints, or specialized glass acrylics. Craft yourself a hennin. These are having a moment right now, but they are so cute and very, very easy to make. I am making myself a whole collection. Make a moss coaster with some fuzzy yarn and a cross-stitch plastic backing. You can sew on some fun textures and colors to make a mossy forest floor type coaster or mat to decorate your space. Read an actual medieval text, like the Canterbury Tales. Want to pretend you're living in an age before TV? Go watch an actual play. On a similar note, go to a symphony. Bake some fantasy-inspired food like lamba spread. There are tons of recipes online, or you could invest in a fantasy cookbook. Cook a historically inspired medieval meal. However accurate you want to be. Write someone a beautiful letter and seal it with a wax seal. Play a fantasy or fantasy adjacent board game. They have some beautiful ones these days. I don't have a ton, but here are a few of my collection. Write a super short fantasy story, an epic quest, a cozy adventure, a tragic love story. The options are limitless. Just write what you want to read. Go fantasy core thrifting. Look for fantasy-esque clothes, accessories, home decor items, whatever you like. Watch a fantasy or historical movie while you craft. Ideas that will take a little more time, maybe about a half-day project. Set up a fairy picnic in your backyard or your living room. You can interpret fairy however you like. Tinkerbell style, folklore style, high fantasy style. Host a magical tea party for yourself and your friends. Go all out on the food, on the decorations, and just make it a really fun and cozy experience. Channel your inner Ash Ketchum and go birding. This is actually such a fun way to spend time in nature. It's very meditative and relaxing, but also fun and exciting. Learning to identify birds, checking off your life list, reporting your sightings. It's an adventure. Visit a used bookstore and pick up an older fantasy book that's different from what you would normally read. This is kind of an obvious one, but play a tabletop RPG like Dungeons & Dragons or Pathfinder. Either find an existing group online that you can play with, or get a group of your friends together and just start your own game. Draw up a template and then bend wire to make yourself an elven crown. Sew a hobbit skirt. This is actually a pretty beginner-friendly sewing project, and it's a lot of fun. If you have a pet, sew, crochet, or craft a costume for them. Make them dragon wings, make them like a little chainmail thing or something. You can make a little witch hat for your cat. Literally nothing is stopping you from doing that. Get away from your tower for a bit and visit a museum to study how people lived in the past. Really think about the technologies they were using, the kind of clothes they wore, their customs, and etc. Paint a window mural with washable paints or markers. Whittle a fantasy knick-knack, a gnome, a fox, an owl, a fairy wand. I'll be honest, I really don't know how to whittle or wood carve, but you can make beautiful things with this. Go to a library and research medieval customs. Not just the history and like the names and dates, but what life was actually like back then. Sculpt a small guardian friend out of clay. A little friend of your very own to watch over you and keep you company. Customize a notebook or sketchbook by painting it or gluing on paper, adding stickers, whatever you like to do to make it your own and give it a little fantasy spin. On that note, rebind a book. This can be a really fun crafting project where you can bring your own vision for a book cover to life. Embellish an old jacket or tote bag by adding on an applique or a patch or some little embroidery. You can even paint on it. If you're feeling wild, dye your hair. Add a fun, fantastical touch to your hair with a streak of color, or you can just go full fairy and dye it all. Upcycle clothes that you don't like or don't wear into fantastical masterpieces. Add on some ribbons or bows or lace, or completely reinvent a piece of clothing. Upcycle some worn out shoes or boots into fairycore, moss-covered masterpieces. Similarly, upcycle some pointy-toed flats into fairycore slippers, just by gluing on some fake ivy and adding some lace-ups. Ideas for full-day projects. Visit a forest, a beach, a hiking trail, and spend the day studying nature. Bring a field journal with you and write down observations about everything that you see. Have a hobbit day. Turn off your phone, bake bread, have some delicious food, have second breakfast, drink a lot of tea, and just spend the day doing cozy activities like gardening, reading, crafting. This is even better if you can do it with friends. Have yourself a fantasy-themed photo shoot with fantasy costumes and props. This is something you can do with a friend, or you can do self-portraits. Host a fantasy-themed costume party. Everyone has to show up in their best Ren Fair attire. Have a no power day where you just avoid using anything that's powered by electricity as much as you possibly can. Turn a corner of your bedroom into a cozy little safe space, a forest nook, by making like a little blanket for it with some blankets, maybe some fairy lights, fake candles, and just make it a really cozy little space. Build a fairy garden. Climb a mountain to watch the sunset. Craft yourself a pair of fairy wings. Craft a mushroom jewelry stand like this one I made out of aluminum foil to make the armature, then covering it with clay and painting it. And last but very much not least, we have our long-term projects. Learn a fantasy-themed sport like a martial art, horseback riding, wielding a staff, axe throwing, or acrobatics. Wow! Knit or crochet your own clothing. Bonus points if they are fairy core or night core. Chainmail, anyone? Learn to play a fantasy adjacent instrument like a lute or panpipes or a flute, or just learn how to sing like Enya casually. Volunteer to help out in your community. It's so important for us to be connected to and a part of our community, and what better way to do that than to support and give back. If you're a hardcore medievalist, you might be into this one. Create an illuminated manuscript. Do a full bedroom makeover and turn your space into a fantasy core dream. This is another big project. Create a fantasy-inspired board game or card game of your very own. Join the Society for Creative Anachronism. Play a solo RPG or a journaling game. These can be really cool storytelling experiences that are very immersive and beautiful. I highly recommend a field guide to memory. It's all about a missing cryptidologist. Create your own fantasy world, even if you're not going to do anything with it, like make art or write a story or whatever. Creating the world can be in and of itself very fun. Start a fantasy-themed small business. The options here are literally endless. Create a soundtrack or score inspired by a fantasy world, whether that's your own fantasy world or one from a book or movie or video game, whatever you like. Another really big project idea, create a fantasy film. This might be a stretch, but it will be a lot of fun. Sew yourself a costume. Even if you are pretty new to sewing, why not start with something you really enjoy and do a simple fantasy-themed project? If you love to paint, paint a mural on your wall, or paint a collection of paintings and make a gallery wall out of them. Go on an adventure. Literally just get out in the world with no plan, no destination, and just see what adventures you find along the way. Write a collection of poetry. Similarly, write a whole novel, or just a novella or collection of short stories. Grow a garden full of magical feeling flowers and herbs. Build a fairy dollhouse or treehouse out of cardboard and mixed materials.
History is not just a dry collection of names and dates and facts. It's a repository of thousands of years of stories.
Wherever your interests may lie, there is history there for you to dig into and enrich your life with.
Learn to identify bird calls, local wildflowers and plants, local rocks in your area to nurture your connection with nature and just know cool stuff. Similarly, learn to identify the constellations, planets, and stars. Again, this will enrich your connection with nature and bring a sense of wonder and the sublime into your life. Take a page from Tolkien's book and invent a language. If you are fascinated by words and meaning and etymology and how words actually shape society and our experience of life, then why not dive into that fascination by inventing a language of your very own? Take up a cause and fight for it. Find what you're passionate about. Find your own unique gifts and use them to make a true difference in this world in whatever way you can. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope that this sparked some creativity and curiosity in you and got you interested in maybe getting out of your comfort zone a little bit to bring a little bit more wonder and whimsy into this world. Because when we embrace wonder and joy, we light up the world around us. Please leave your favorite suggestion in the comments. I'm really curious to see what ideas people are connecting with. I know I have my own favorites, but I want to hear what yours are. So yeah, again, my name is Bailey. I do fantasy and creative living content to help you live your most gloriously creative life. And I'm so excited to see you in the next video. Bye for now.